Hello everyone, remember this lovely Mercedes C220? This is the car that had no reverse gear and second gear was really difficult to get into. I looked on the internet and I found that other people have had exactly the same problem as what this car has got. I did check the gear linkage and all the linkage was fine. So I decided it has to be internal within the gearbox. Now I'm not taking the gearbox to pieces because I think you're going to need specialist tools for this, but I have just removed the gearbox like a couple weeks later. I finally got around to doing it. This engine that someone told me, well, on the first video, there is an actual timing chain behind the flywheel, which is not very nice. So hopefully we'll never have to do that. But what I shall do now, I shall give you a quick recap on what it was actually like to remove this gearbox, in case anybody else needs to do exactly the same job. I did state the first time round that there are plastic panels that run front to rear underneath this car. Loads of plastic panels, I have to say, and it takes flipping forever to remove them all. That is the biggest problem. Once you've removed all the plastic panels, you see the gear linkage up there. You don't have to touch anything to do with the gear lever inside the car. Leave it alone. All you do is you have two links up there which connect onto your gearbox just here, and they are via little pins. You see them pins? One pushes in from the top and one pushes in from the side, and then it clips down. So that's really quite nice and simple. And obviously I've used a cable tie to tie the actual main linkage there up to the handbrake cable, but you've got to be careful with them handbrake cables. Them blue clips there, if that was to break, you're in trouble, because that handbrake cable could hit against the prop shaft or something like that and start rubbing out. So what else can I tell you? The clutch slave cylinder, two E-bit bolts you undo, and then you just pull the actual slave cylinder out of the gearbox and just tie it up, so you haven't even got to touch the hydraulic system whatsoever. You see it just slides into that hole there, and two bolts, it bolts on. That's nice and simple. I like that. The easier the better. Now here's something that could be a problem, big problem. DPF. What I decided to do, I disconnected the DPF from the outlet side there, which the clamp was quite easy to undo. There was also a clamp which is down here. These bloody clamps. I did put a load of freeing oil on the threads of these and clean them up with a wire brush before I actually took the gearbox out. That was a couple of weeks back. So they come out okay. And these clamps aren't bad. So there's obviously more brackets go on here. So you disconnect everything on the exhaust. This bracket at the back's got the same type of clamp. So you take that whole exhaust section out of the way, and you can leave the back end of the exhaust just hanging there like that. Now as far as the prop shaft goes, I took the prop shaft off them three bolts there, leaving that spindle. Well, you have to leave that on the gearbox anyway, because otherwise you'd have to undo that nut, and you don't want to do that. So there is our prop shaft with the donut intact, and the rear end of the prop shaft is there. Well, that's the diff, but that is leaving the donut, the rubber donut, on the prop once again. And it was a little bit tight getting this here. There's a little like a dowel here, and they were stuck. But once you put a screwdriver in here and give it a few taps, they free off, and then you can pull the prop shaft off. So that weren't too bad at all. Obviously two bolts in the middle holding the centre bearing. So all in all, prop shaft was easy enough to get off. The exhaust weren't too bad at all. But coming back to this DPF, when you try and get the gearbox out, it is a bit tight coming past this DPF. And I kept looking at this and thinking, will it come past or not? And I thought, I'm not entirely sure. But I decided to remove this nut here, because it is actually hitting on this pipe, the actual gearbox casing, when I was taking it out. So with this pipe, I was able to move it about a bit. It actually came out. Now there's another clamp up here, just there, at the front end of the DPF. I believe it would be easier if you were to undo that, and then you could kind of swing the DPF around a little bit. You haven't got to remove it, but if you swung it round a little bit, it'd make life a lot easier. I can't move that 13mm bolt, it's solid. I put freon oil on it, tried to clean the threads. If it frees off tomorrow morning before I put this gearbox back in, then I shall do that and move this DPF around just a little bit. And I think that'll make my life a lot easier. If I can't, I'm going to try and put the gearbox back in as it is, but I'm sure it'll come out okay, not too bad at all, so I'm sure it will go back in. There are a couple brackets, one at the top there, and there's another bracket on the left hand side holding wiring harness. Apart from that, there's a whole load of gearbox bolts. Most of them are the same size, apart from two of them which go just up here, which are quite long, so you have to make a note of what length bolts come out of this bell housing. But as like I say, there's only two that's actually longer than the rest of them. So I'm not changing the clutch or nothing, because the clutch felt really good, and the release bearing inside the bell housing, it's not noisy or nothing, it's not bad, so I'm going to leave that alone. So I shall swap the release bearing onto our new gearbox, which is down here. Swap over any bits and pieces I need to, or I might even use this release bearing, which is actually no, that one actually feels worse, so I'll use the original one. So, but no, it's looking okay. It looks like we have the gearbox filler bung here, so when I get the gearbox all back up and inside the actual transmission tunnel, I will refill it with the relevant oil. I don't know what oil goes in it yet, I will find out later. But yeah, I was expecting quite a nasty job getting this out, and surprisingly enough, I was able to get it out quite quickly. So there are quite a lot of bolts holding it on though. I count 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 bolts, and that doesn't include the 2 bolts down here that hold a bracket from the DPF onto the casing. So yeah, they certainly didn't want the gearbox to fall out, did they? But you can get all the bolts out without too much problem. I'll tell you exactly what I used. I've got a long extension bar here with I don't know what size E-bit that is, but it's an E-bit. A very long extension bar, because what you do is you get the bar above the top on the higher up bolts. You get the bar right above the gearbox, and then you get it on and use a 1/2 inch ratchet and undo them. The bolts weren't even that tight, if you know what I mean. They're not, I know some bolts are really tight to undo. These were not that tight at all. Once they come undone, and they then spun out like finger tight. So they were all very nice to get out. Can't really complain there. But yeah, it was okay. Not a bad job at all. Even though I haven't finished it, I've still got the task of putting it all back in and back together. But I think the hardest bit is going to be, once I lift the gearbox up, getting it pushed back onto the actual clutch and everything, onto the dowels. Once I get a few bolts in and the box bolted back on properly, then the rest of it will be plain sailing. It'll be doddle, very easy. So I'm impressed. Can't really moan at this job. It's not been bad at all. So what I'm going to do, I shall carry on, and any problems along the way, I'll let you know. If you want to know how to remove this release bearing, it's quite simple. There's little plastic clips behind, but if you try pulling this, it might not come off very easily. So what you do, you pull the lever towards you a bit, get your hand behind this bit here, there's a ball joint there, and give it a little pull. there. That pulls it off the ball joint. Then you can pull, well, slide the whole lot towards you, like so. And there you go, there's the release bearing clipped on at the back. Okay, I have to say, I'm absolutely thrilled and amazed that this gearbox, I will point out here though, when you've got one of these hydraulic stands that you can adjust up, down and God knows whatever which way, it helps. But anyway, this gearbox has literally just fallen back in. I could have whistled and it would have jumped in all by itself. I have 2 bolts already in. I haven't bolted it right up to the actual casing, engine casing yet, but the gearbox is on the splines and there's a little spigot bearing in there as well. It's on the spigot bearing, so all I have to literally do, using my long extension bar, is to wind the 2 bolts in and pull the gearbox onto the engine. But yeah, way steady. Just dropped that, but no, it went in so easily. I am so happy. And get that out the way. There she goes. I want to point out here, as I was saying earlier about this DPF could be in the way because the clamp up the front there, the 13mm headed bolt, I can't loosen it. Looks like it's going to snap if I try and loosen it. I didn't have to touch it in the end. The gearbox just lifted up into place and pushed in, no problem, and I didn't have to touch the actual DPF or move it. The only thing I loosened was that pipe, that sample pipe that goes onto it. So that's really good news. I didn't want to mess around with the DPF on this. So yeah, it's all back in. It's bolted up against the gearbox. Well, the gearbox casing is now bolted up against the engine casing. So, nice. I shall now just get all the rest of the bolts back in, tighten them all up and start putting it back together. Just a quick little note here, you really want the centre bearing of the prop shaft disconnected so you can actually pull the prop shaft down in the middle. That will give you enough movement so you can actually slide the back of the prop onto its stub. I just popped on auto data just to recheck that the oil filler hole for the transmission is correct, which it is. The oil which goes in this gearbox is 7580, fully synthetic, and the gearbox takes 1.5 litres. Before I bark this Merc up, I decided to put a new battery on it, which, by the way, wasn't exactly cheap. It's down there, but the actual bolt and clamp that holds it is right down there, and it's hard to get to with your fingers. So I put the bolt back in with a little piece of rag in the socket, which is holding the bolt so the bolt doesn't drop out the socket. So now, with any luck, I should be able to position that down there and screw it in. Yes, we're in. And last but least, we're going to replace the front grille, which on our car is actually got a hole in it. So yeah, see ya. These grills have got little tabs here at the side that actually drop in, but also at the bottom where it meets the edge of the bumper, there's little clips. You just get your hand behind the actual grill itself and push them onto the clip, like so, and it clips in. If you're very careful, you'll get it on and won't do no damage. Well, it's truth time now. Will it work? Will we have a reverse gear? I don't know. I actually do know, because I have actually tried it. But let's start it up first. Get the old engine running. There's our ignition lights. Engine is running. Are we ready? That's first. Oh, we're moving. Second. First and second, nice and easy. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Yes. Reverse. We are in. Woo! We have reverse gear. I shall go forward again. Bingo. Yes, indeedy. It's working. Excellent. Hello, Monica.
Hello.
What a coincidence.
Oh, I know, right?
You wouldn't mind being a test pilot, would you? I would drive it myself, but I'm biased because I like the car.
No.
We need to test the gearbox.
Well, I'll do that for you.
You're going to test my shoddy workmanship.
To the roundabout and back?
Roundabout and back would be great. Have you ever drove a Mercedes-Benz before?
Only on test drives here.
Because this is a proper car. This is supposed to be high class, distinguished car, luxurious.
That's it.
The handbrake on this car is by the next to the clutch pedal, by the way, in case you didn't know.
I didn't, I was looking for it.
Yeah, you won't find a lever. Don't worry about the handbrake, we'll sort that out when you get back. I've just fitted a gearbox in this car. So hopefully what I'm checking for is, will it crunch in any of the gears? That's third gear you're in now.
Yep.
You'll have to go through all the gears, all 6 gears.
I will do that for you.
That's fourth.
We're gonna break some laws.
Well, you don't have to go too fast, just to get it into 6, and that will do.
But there's no fun in it going too fast.
You're a bit of a fly girl, are you? Like to put your foot down when no one's watching?
Yep.
So what do you reckon to this C220? You like it?
Yeah, it's nice. Nice drive, actually.
These are the kind of cars you could sort of like relax in, do a lot of... If you're on a very long journey, it'll be very... Oh, we're going a bit further, are we?
Yeah, we are. We like it so much. We are going a little bit further.
That must be a sign Monica likes this car.
Yeah.
Otherwise we've been straight to the roundabout, around and back.
Probably wouldn't even go to the roundabout, you would turn around.
I'll tell you something, it's an half busy in this area now. Now they've got the RAF Alconbury base, and they've got a lot of business development going on there. There's lorries and cars all day long around here. Alconbury wheeled.
All the new houses, all the new apartments,
Yep.
shops.
Yep.
It's getting big.
It is. There's a lot of traffic around here. They're going to have to make better roads, I'm sure.
Yep, especially around here.
Anyway, back to the car, Moni. You're sitting on a proper leather seat.
Yeah, very comfy.
I do like these cars.
Are you gonna buy yourself one?
Maybe one day. Maybe one day. I would like them though. I would have no qualms about driving a car like this.
No, it's nice. Very quiet as well.
Yeah. Prestige is what is the word I was looking for earlier. It's a prestige car.
Well, and it's soon gonna be up for sale.
It certainly will. This car will be up for sale. I don't know what the price tag is yet. I guess we'll find out shortly. It's got to be valeted yet, I guess.
Yes.
All cleaned up properly.
Look at that. It will tell you even the speed in the area.
Oh.
So you don't break the law.
But more importantly, we've got gears.
We do. It's very smooth. I think you've done a good job as normal.
That was a cheap gearbox, by the way. That was less than £500. So I think we're on to a winner there.
Very good.
Right, well, I'm glad the gearbox works. It's nice to fit a second-hand unit, and actually it does work for once, because some doesn't always work like that. Can get dud units. Well, thank you, Money, for that.
You're very welcome.
It's
I
much
enjoyed
appreciated.
that. It's nice to drive these cars every now and then.
Yep. Yeah, the handbrake is just down there. You see a little foot pedal by the clutch pedal?
This one?
No, that's the release.
Right.
If you look on your left foot,
Oh yeah.
down there.
What, all the way there?
Yeah, there's a pedal by the side of the heater.
What, this one?
Yeah, push that. That's your handbrake, and you release it with the little handle on the right hand side of the steering wheel.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, very smart.
That's German. That's German technology.
Very good. Anyway,
Thanks,
guess I'll
Molly.
see you in the next one.
Cheers. Oh, one last thing. Thumbnail.
Oh, it's dirty.
I know. Ta-da! Mr. Costa has cleaned the Mercedes. It's absolutely sparkling now. What a lovely car. I guess you all know what kind of price we're going to put on it. 6,995. Does that sound good? I reckon so. I should put that behind the sun visor. There we go. And that can go out onto the sales lot now. Another one done. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you in the next one. Take care out there. Have a good one. Adios. There is nothing obviously wrong with this that I can see, but there again, without a manual, there's a spring here. Where the hell that went, I do not know. But I can't even select any of the gears now. Everything seems to be jammed up. But this is a specialist gearbox, and I'm sure there are specialist tools. I basically monkeyed this getting it apart. It's all going to go in the scrap anyway, so we're not keeping it. We're not going to try, even attempt to try and put it back together properly. It will go in the rubbish, the scrap metal pile. But I can't see what has gone wrong. So at this point, without the knowledge and any kind of information to tell me otherwise, I shall basically give up.